Welcome back. In this video, we are going to cover the 2003 Form B, question number 6A. So this question has to do with a couple important concepts. First of all, the second derivative, which is typically a Unit 3 topic, in addition to the product rule and also the chain rule. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So you can see here we have our first derivative, and this is the first thing I'm looking at is this is pretty obviously a composite function because I literally have f of x within this other function, the square root function. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind because remember when I can identify that something is a composite function, I'm immediately thinking of chain rule. Other thing I'm noticing is that I'm going to have to use the product rule because this is x times the square root of f of x. So now, kind of with those preliminary ideas going, now let's go ahead and jump in and take the second derivative. So f double prime of x is going to equal, again, I have this memorized possibly in the opposite order of what you do, but how I have the product rule memorized is the first times the derivative of the second. So the derivative of the square root of f of x is simply going to be 1 over 2 root f of x. You may want to use u substitution here. Some of my students are more comfortable with that, some are less, so I'll leave it up to you. But it may make more sense if you let u equal f of x and think of this entire term as the square root of u. And then I'm assuming you have the derivative of square root of u memorized, which is 1 over 2 root u, which is basically what I did here, just without formally using u substitution. Now, going back to it, the other thing I have to remember here is the chain rule. So because I have f of x within the square root of x, now I have to actually multiply this term by f prime of x, right? The derivative of what's on the inside, which is f of x. And then now moving on, so now I've done first times derivative of second plus the second term times the derivative of the first, which is just derivative of x is just 1. So just times 1. Now, let me just clean this up a bit. Here, I'm going to rewrite this as x times f prime of x over 2 root f of x plus the square root of f of x. Now, this is my f double prime of x. Now, when I think about what I'm looking for f double prime of 3, and I can't forget this given, which is that I'm given f of x equals, or I'm sorry, f of 3 equals 25. So now let's go ahead and plug in those values so that we can actually evaluate. So f double prime of 3 is going to equal, my x is just 3, so 3 times f prime of 3 over 2 times square root of f of 3 plus the square root of f of 3. Now, again, just plugging in from there, I'm going to get 3 times my f prime of 3. So for that, what I have to do is I have to take this and I have to plug in 3 there. So as a little side note here, f prime of 3 equals 3 times the square root of f of 3, which is just equal to 3 square root 25, or 3 times 5, which is just 15. Sorry about how small that is. Hopefully you can see that okay. Anyways, going back to it, so it's going to be 3 times 15 over 2 times the square root of f of 3, which is again 25. Okay, and then plus, again, the square root of 25. Simplifying that further, here this is going to be 10, 2 times the square root of 25, so 2 times 5 is just 10. So if I simplify down 15 over 10, I'm going to get 3 over 2. So 3 times 3 over 2 plus the square root of 25 is just 5, which ends up giving me 9 over 2 plus 5. And then I'm going to bring this up here for more space, getting a common denominator. It's going to be 9 over 2 plus 10 over 2, which equals 19 over 2. Awesome. All right. Hopefully you could see all of that okay. Again, if this was difficult, main concepts to review are one, the idea of the second derivative, which really, in my opinion, wasn't the hardest part of this video. But two, I would say definitely review the product rule if needed, and then probably most importantly, review how to use the chain rule. All right. Thanks so much for watching.